For Duncan Robinson to come right back off. Oh, he blew up the screen.
Jenkins from the corner.
Mr. Fourth Quarter.
Cunningham.
They got him.
Over to Robinson for three. Robinson penetrating. Toss out. Green left it short. Duren the offensive board. Green with the hammer.
The Detroit Pistons are 10-2 on the season and have captured the first seed in the Eastern Conference. Last year, they were arguably the Cinderella story of the league as they went from 14 wins in 2024 to 44 in 2025, an NBA record for a single season turnaround. As big of an improvement as that is, the weaknesses with this roster were still glaring, and as a result, not many people expected them to be all that much better this year, myself included. I honestly expected a very similar season from them this year, especially if they didn't make a pretty big trade to make up for some of those weaknesses. But through 12 games so far, it's looking like I and many others were wrong to doubt an improvement from this team. This start has been so good, in fact, that it's possible that the Pistons are a legitimate threat to win the Eastern Conference and make their first finals appearance in 20 years. But first, I want to tell you about our sponsor, Factor. I've always needed to be fast and flexible for my schedule, and in the past, that would mean sacrificing delicious, affordable food for the quickest option. But Factor changed that with fresh, never-frozen meals delivered right to my door. And then, all it takes is just 2 minutes in the microwave and my meal is ready. Not only is Factor convenient, but it also takes the guesswork out of eating smart for everyone. Eating clean and portion control have never been so easy, with meals that are 350 to 550 calories per serving, and Factor just introduced its healthiest menu yet, doubling the size to 80+ rotating weekly meals with double the seafood and protein options and even more Mediterranean meals than ever. Head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code ALSORUSTYFB50 to get 50% off plus free breakfast for 1 year. That is code ALSORUSTYFB50 at factor75.com to get 50% off plus free breakfast for 1 year. Thank you to Factor for sponsoring this video. Anyways, like I said in the intro, this team last year, as impressive as their improvements were, still seemed to have a limited ceiling due to their weaknesses. So what were those weaknesses? Well, the primary issue was shot creation outside of Cade Cunningham. They didn't have anyone who could really generate offense for themselves and others. Guys like Tobias Harris and Malik Beasley were capable scorers, but in a way that was pretty stagnant. Malik operated almost exclusively on catch and shoots, and Tobias did that as well, on top of posting up a lot. They could score, but not in a way that actually made the defense shift and subsequently open up opportunities for others to score. This, of course, could have been largely helped by Jaden Ivey, who was having a career year last season before going down with an injury 30 games in, but he's still not back. And yet, the Pistons appear to be better at shot creation outside of Cade. The addition that I was most excited for from this offseason for them was Caris LeVert, who is a big combo guard who can play on and off the ball. He has given Detroit another option as a ball handler who can create for everyone. Asar Thompson has also taken a bit more of a ball handling responsibility, resulting in a marginal increase in assists from him. And Jalen Duren has actually improved pretty substantially as a self-creator, but more on him later. Another major issue was that they kind of just sucked at shooting. Malik Beasley made up for this substantially by hitting 319 three-pointers last year, but as a team, they were 22nd in the league in three-point attempts while shooting just above league average at 36.2%. And if you subtract Malik Beasley's threes and look at the shooting elsewhere on the roster, they as a team hit 732 of their 2,135 attempts, which is 34.2%. Last season, that would have ranked them as the 4th worst shooting team percentage-wise. Obviously, if you subtract any team's best shooter from the equation, their percentage and volume decreases. But few teams were this defined as a shooting team by just one guy. Of course, they lost Malik Beasley this offseason due to reasons, and they did replace him with another shooter in Duncan Robinson, but I doubted he could match the volume of Beasley. And to be fair, that has been true. He is taking nearly 3 less three-pointers per game, though he is shooting 3% better. It's also worth noting that Cade shot the ball terribly to start the season, as did Tobias Harris, which is tanking their overall shooting stats. They currently rank 19th in the league in percentage and second to last in the league in attempts. But 2 players have shot the ball really, really well so far. Isaiah Stewart, whom I thought more or less gave up on being a stretch big last year. He went from 3 attempts per game to like 0.7, but this year he's back up to 3 attempts per game and he is shooting 39% on them. This improved shooting makes it easier to play him bigger minutes, including minutes at the power forward spot next to Duren. The other big offseason addition, Caris LeVert, also has shot the ball very well, 39% from outside on around 3 attempts per game as well. This would be easily the best percentage of his career, so we're going to see if that actually maintains. Their second-year backup point guard, Danis Jenkins. I'm going to look up how to say his name. Is it Danis Jenkins? Basketball Reference does not have a pronunciation thing, so hopefully it is Danis Jenkins. But second-year backup point guard Danis Jenkins is also shooting the 3-ball very well, though that is based almost entirely in one game that he had against the Wizards where he went 4 for 6 from 3 while putting up 24 points. But also in a game that Cade Cunningham missed versus the Chicago Bulls, he put up 18 points and 12 assists in a win. So I'm actually excited a lot by the prospect of Cade finally having a good backup point guard and another potential shooter on the floor. Overall, they're still not a good shooting team, but I think there is reason to be optimistic that they have improved there. All of that said, I do think that those weaknesses still exist. They're just getting better, way better, at what they were already good at last year. For example, last year they were in the top 10 in free throw attempts per game, but this year they are currently 3rd, jumping a whole 7 free throw attempts per game. Now their percentage is down, like a lot, but hey, free throw attempts are always good. Last year, they were the 10th best offensive rebounding team in the league. This year, they are 4th, grabbing 3 more per game. Overall, they are tied for 2nd in the league in total rebounds per game. Last year, they were one of the highest volume paint scoring teams, but this year, they are the 2nd highest points in the paint team in the league, right in between the Miami Heat and the Denver Nuggets. They are also one of the highest scoring fast break teams in the league, and that is supplemented by their defense, which generates a really high amount of turnovers, as they are 2nd in the league in steals per game when they were 17th last year. That's their biggest leap. They also went from 9th in blocks per game to 2nd. As a result, they currently have the 2nd best defensive rating in the league, up from 11th last year. And with OKC in the NBA right now, being the 2nd best defense is basically being the best defense. Like, OKC is in a whole other category, but amongst the not insanely juiced defenses, they're the best. If I was to point to a singular factor for all of this improvement, though, that factor would be Jalen Duren, who should be a leading candidate for most improved player. The Pistons are currently ranked the same in offensive rating as they were last year, which shouldn't be the case when you consider that their 2nd leading scorer from last year is gone and that their 3rd leading scorer has missed half of the games. And he also played rather poorly in the ones that he didn't miss. All the while, Cade has been really inefficient, as I mentioned earlier. Not only did he start the season shooting poorly, but he also literally set a record for most missed field goals in an NBA game against the Washington Wizards. If anything, they should be substantially worse on that end, but they're not, and that is thanks to Jalen Duren. His offense is individually improving, and he's had far more of a significant impact on both ends of the floor. His offense has individually improved, and that is obviously huge for, their offense, but the relationship between defense and offense is a really big one. I was high on Duren after his rookie year, but his 2nd and 3rd seasons really worried me because he was a pretty mediocre defender, especially relative to his physicality. Like, he reads as a guy who would be good at defense, but he just hasn't been. Like, a really big, jacked, and simultaneously fast and athletic center should not be a traffic cone to the degree that he often was. Last year, opponents were 5.4 points better on offense when Duren was on the floor versus off. That is a really bad number for a starting center. To put that into perspective, let's compare that to a pair of Nicolas that everyone thinks are the worst defensive bigs in the league. Denver was only 1.1 points worse defensively with Jokic on the floor last year, and the Chicago Bulls were 4 points worse on defense with Vucevic. Duren was all offense and very little defense. He was literally less impactful than the pair of Nicolas. This year, though, Detroit is 2 points better on defense with Duren on the floor. So that's overall a 7-point swing from what he was last year. But let's move on from that advanced stats woke nonsense. What does his offensive improvements actually look like? Well, just from a pure box score standpoint, he has increased his points per game from 11.8 to 19.4, and that's while only taking 3 more shots per game. His 2-point percentage has dipped by nearly 5% as a result of this extra volume, but his true shooting percentage has ever so slightly gone up as he has increased his free throw volume and percentage substantially. He has more than doubled his free throw attempts per game, and his percentage has gone from the high 60s to the low 80s, an over 20% increase. As a whole, he is averaging 19 points and 12 rebounds, and get this, he is doing it in under 30 minutes per game. Per 36, this man is averaging 24, 15, and 3 stocks. Like, god damn. Probably the most impressive change for all of this, though, is he is creating more of his shots than ever. Duren has a fairly standard skill set as a big man on offense. He's not a shooter by any means, not particularly special as a playmaker, but he has always been able to dribble just a little bit. Now, though, he is using that skill to its fullest potential. Duren is taking bigs one-on-one on these drives, fully confident that he won't lose the ball, and when he gets to the rim, he'll be big enough to muscle his way into a pretty good shot. This doesn't always work out, but it puts pretty consistent pressure on the defense. Overall, though, if I can be a bit negative for a second, I still think this roster has a long way to go before they are serious contenders. This could be achieved through further internal improvements, but I expect it will come via a trade of some kind. It doesn't necessarily need to be a blockbuster move, but it does need to be something that improves the spacing and creation on this team. My biggest concern is just how much Javonte Green is playing. Now, first of all, let me say I love Javonte, and I always have. He is a very exciting athlete. I really, really liked him when he was a Chicago Bull. But with Asar and Ron Holland as prominent staples in the rotation as well, I really don't think they need a third wing who just can't shoot a jump shot to save his life. Hell, I don't even really care for Holland on this team for that reason. He has increased his scoring aggression a bit this year, which is nice, but he still cannot hit from outside. He's shooting about 30%, and their creation beyond Cade has improved from last year, but it went from completely awful to just kind of awful, which is notably still awful. Getting better at the things you are already good at is nice, but if Detroit wants to contend, they simply have to be better at shooting and shot creation to be a serious threat. Maybe Jaden Ivey returns and all is well, but I'm still skeptical of him and the fit within this offense. If his 3-ball percentage from last year holds up, then there should be no issue, but Detroit started to improve as the season went along last year, and they were better without him. And even if he is good, I still don't know that he will be enough. The Eastern Conference is pretty awful. It is either made up of good but not great teams or okay supporting cast with a great player. And as of now, I think the Pistons fall into the latter. In today's game, usually it is a team that wins regardless of who the best player in the series may be. And even against a team like Milwaukee, I think it's as simple as Giannis is better than Cade. Not to mention, it's a far better spaced offense. And if you can't beat the Milwaukee Bucks, then I'm really not going to bank on you beating a healthy Knicks or Cavs team either. So are the Pistons contenders in the East? I mean, maybe, but like probably a B tier contender for the East, which is kind of grading on a curve because the East sucks so much. So it's more like a C tier contender. And I don't even really categorize teams as C tier contenders. It's either you're a strong one or a weak one. And I think they're still outside of even being a weak contender. I could maybe see them getting out of the Eastern Conference because, again, I just think the East is doo-doo booty cheeks. But whoever they meet in the finals will surely wipe the floor with them. So I am optimistic about the Detroit Pistons and their future. It looks like they are taking a leap this year, but we're still a pretty decent way away from this team being an outright contender and a team that should be really feared among the best teams in the East. Could be wrong, though. It could be possible that their offense improves even more from this point, especially with those guys returning. But until I actually see that, I'm not going to label them as that good yet. Not quite. They have taken the Chicago Bulls' place at the top of the East, though. Maybe have to do a follow-up video on them because they have not been very good ever since their hot start. But yeah, that is it. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.